Hey guys, welcome back to Beardman Comics. In this episode of Nail Lives with Beardman, I'll take you through my dream which I had recently. There, I owned a swanky little drone which went berserk in the middle of a town. And while chasing it, I got hit by a truck from the side, and just like that, I was awake. Breathtaking, isn't it? So naturally, I abide by the quote from one of my heroes, a beat farmer, former volunteer sheriff, the best paper salesman of the year 2005, and the current regional manager of Dunder Mifflin Scranton, you guessed it right, Dwight Schrute.
When I die, I want to be frozen. And if they have to freeze me in pieces, so be it. I will wake up stronger than ever because I will have used that time to figure out exactly why I died and what moves I could have used to defend myself better now that I know what hold he had me in.
Let's start with the background first. As the situation in my dream got intense lately, I can assure you that the before part was mesmerizing. Beautiful evening sunlight casting its shadows on the cleanest road through the many trees on the sidewalk. Strangely, the iPad was acting weird. I think it's the weight of my wrist. They should do. A well-painted tree may seem like a harder nut to crack, that's what she said, but on the contrary, as you can see here, it's easier to nail. As I initiate to put props in the background, such as a stop sign and the tiny cars, I make sure that the details will come on the later stage. Once I have scattered protruded shadows on the sidewalk, I initiate to paint the foreground, which is a part of the background. That includes the road and the building up front. But suddenly, a stroke of uncontrollable urge took me back to detailing what I had left for last. Man, getting out of addiction is tough. Back to the front, I put some random tiny white spots on the corner of the wall followed by some colder shadows. Once done, I start with a base layer on the front window, followed by putting tiny details such as a windowsill, more sunlight, and a basement. Now I paint some texture on the wall and define areas for the windows. Speaking of the windows, this is how I paint the curtain inside one. By this time I'm just fond of putting white spots everywhere. This instantly brings the prominence of the sunlight, yes, but if overdone, the artwork may end up in Andromeda Galaxy. Perhaps I should paint rest of the area first and then take care of the sunlight situation later on. So I start putting some attributes to the rest of the windows very quickly. For a moment I feel like an architect building dreams, just like in the movie Inception. Coming back to the artwork, I realize that I can actually add more sunlight, as the scene can get more brighter. Frankly speaking, this building wasn't coming out as expected in the entirety of this artwork, but when it did, it was convincing. So here's a small tip to improve your art, just stick to it. Always strive to be better, not perfect. Detailing the road was next to nothing in terms of simplicity, just put some white light here and there and you are good to go. Now I get back to the sidewalk and start painting some white paint to establish some softer shadows. Once I have put some tiny windows on the windowless building, I realize a DeLorean should aptly fit this scenario. I mean, why not, right? I am recreating a dream sequence after all, where I went back to the future. And here you go, a very well lit and detailed background that will be blurred out soon. But before that, let me establish the subject first. This would be me, personally, riding a bicycle again. I use my left hand as a reference and memorize the shape and angles of it. And then I mimic the same. That's good. Now I'm confident enough to draw the rest of my lean and muscular body with absolutely no fat in it. It's a shame that I cannot just show you that handsome face, particularly on a good hair day, because a face mask is a necessity, but a cap, I don't know why. And after detailing the backpack and some tiny creases, I proceed to draw the snitch, the drone, which is slightly tilted forward pretending to be ludicrous and unstoppable. Now it's time to ink and lock this layer. As opposed to my past artworks where I have blocked the colors in a bit more traditional manner, this time I use ink to create solid outline for the subject and then directly fill the base coat in one go. This process has its own pros and cons, like it's a much quicker and effortless process to block complicated areas such as this one. And the demerit is that it doesn't merge with your paintings that well if you are into traditional ones. Let's see if this decision affects the artwork when completed. Once I have poured the temporary paint to block the area, I repeat the same process with the drone in the same layer. Now it's time to color the subject, and I often stress about it because it's the main component of the artboard. Moreover, I have to copy all the perfections from myself, which won't be easy. because obviously my features are too perfect to be true. I darken the lower half of the body significantly, assuming that it's not impacted by the sunlight. I choose my regular grey t-shirt, and no, it's not the same one. I have a lot of these in my closet. Once I put some creases onto it, it's time for some tiny but significant details to the backpack. I have a very limited knowledge in terms of drawing faces, but I am learning. This is why a face mask is very necessary at this point of time. But as they say, a good artist is the one who challenges himself constantly, so I shall do the same. And before I proceed to paint my arms, I put tiny metallic bits on the cycle. Following the principle of geometric shapes, the hands were painted in no time. I had a difficult time spotting the drone, so in a non-traditional manner, I blur the background. Once spotted, I use a combination of cool and warm colors for the highlights and the shadows respectively, and after adding a hint of motion blur to establish some speed, it is done. This drone chase turned out to be pretty nice with a certain motion to it. The subject looks accurate in terms of colors and proportion, however it doesn't merge with the background that well. That's why I put the motion blur to make the edges a little bit rougher. I also think the drone could have been popped out more, but at the same time it looks mysterious and hard to catch, so the story supports this flaw somehow. Now let's discuss the background, though it's an overkill and I could have drawn it in a similar fashion with way less effort, time and whatnot, but I'm simply proud of it. This is one of those moments where I have outdone myself. I have perfectly nailed the depth and the perspective thanks to the new skill I've learned, where I use warmer highlights and colder shadows, or vice versa. This contrast can give life to your artwork if used judiciously. I learned this trick from Angry Mikko, one of the greatest names in Procreate community, famous for his amazing Ghibli paintings. I can practically guarantee that you are going to fall in love with his work. Surely my effort that went on the DeLorean is blurred out, but I am very happy with this painting. While I go and search for more survival hacks from the books of Dwight Schrute, you can subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends. Also follow Beardman Comics on Instagram where I post similar artworks every day. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.